The suitcase looked exactly like hers. Black, hard shell, silver lock. Same size, same brand. One of those generic carry-ons you could buy at any airport shop. Nia Sanders grabbed it from the baggage carousel at LAX without a second thought, exhausted from the 6-hour flight from Atlanta and desperate to get to her new apartment before midnight. She didn't realize her mistake until she was home, standing in her tiny Koreatown studio, unzipping the luggage to find her clothes. What she found instead made her blood turn to ice. Money. Stacks and stacks of $100 bills, rubber-banded and pristine. Beneath them, folders with documents. Names, addresses, photographs, business transactions that made her stomach twist. Words like shipment, territory, and enforcement. This wasn't hers, this was someone's life. Someone's very illegal life. Nia's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone, her grandmother's cross necklace cold against her racing pulse. Call the police. That's what good people did. That's what her pastor father taught her. But before her shaking finger could dial 911, 3 sharp knocks echoed through her apartment. Then a voice, smooth and cold as winter. Open the door, Miss Sanders. We need to talk about what you took from me. Nia's breath caught in her throat. He knew her name. Whoever owned this suitcase knew exactly where she lived and who she was, and he'd found her in less than 2 hours. Her mind raced through options. Climb out the fire escape, scream for neighbors, barricade the door. But this was LA, not Atlanta. Nobody knew her here. Nobody would come. The knock came again, firmer this time. I'm not going anywhere, Miss Sanders, and neither are my associates positioned at your fire escape and in the hallway. You have 30 seconds to open this door before I lose my patience. Associates. Plural. Her eyes darted to the window. Sure enough, a shadow moved on the metal platform outside. Trapped. With trembling hands, she unlatched the door. The man standing in her doorway didn't look like a criminal. He looked like he'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Tall, devastatingly handsome, dressed in a crisp white shirt with 4 buttons undone, revealing smooth skin and the edge of something dark inked into his neck. His face was all sharp angles and cold beauty, dark eyes that assessed her with predatory calm. Behind him stood 2 massive men in dark suits, hands folded, expressions blank. May I come in? His English was perfect, American-born, but carried an edge of something else. Authority, danger. Nia's voice barely worked. Who are you? Kang Jin-woo. He stepped forward without waiting for permission, forcing her to back into her own apartment. His men remained outside, and he closed the door behind him with a quiet click. And you, Miss Nia Sanders, 27 years old, graphic designer from Atlanta, Georgia, have something that belongs to me. Her pulse hammered. He knew everything. I didn't mean to, it was an accident. The suitcases looked the same, I just grabbed the wrong one. I know. His gaze swept her small studio, taking in the modest furniture, the boxes still unpacked from her move, the open suitcase on her bed with its incriminating contents. When his eyes returned to her, something flickered in their depths. You don't look like a thief. I'm not. The words came out stronger than she felt. I was about to call the police when you knocked. That made him smile, but there was no warmth in it. Were you? Yes. She lifted her chin even as fear coiled through her stomach. Her father always said honesty was the best policy. I don't want anything to do with whatever this is. Jin-woo moved closer, and Nia forced herself not to retreat. He was tall. She had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. This close she could see the tattoo clearly. A black tiger, rendered in intricate detail, wrapping around the left side of his neck from his collarbone to behind his ear. Beautiful and terrifying. That suitcase contains $5 million, he said quietly, and documents that detail operations across the West Coast. You've seen my face. You know my name. You've read those files. Don't lie. I can see it in your eyes. You know exactly what kind of man I am now. She did. Drug trafficking, money laundering, territory disputes, violence implied in every carefully worded line. This man controlled an empire built on things that made her soul recoil. I won't tell anyone, she whispered. I'll give everything back. I'll forget I ever saw it. Please, I just want to go back to my normal life. You can't. The finality in his voice made her chest tighten. The moment you opened that suitcase, your normal life ended. You're a witness now, Miss Sanders, and witnesses are problematic. Terror spiked through her. You're going to kill me. She expected him to lie, to reassure her. Instead, Jin-woo studied her face with unsettling intensity. I should. It would be the smart thing to do. Clean, simple, no loose ends. Nia's legs nearly gave out. Her hand instinctively reached for the cross at her throat, a desperate prayer forming in her mind. "But I don't kill innocent people." His voice softened slightly, though his expression remained unreadable. "You made a mistake, an honest one. That's not worth a death sentence." Relief and confusion warred inside her. "Then, what? You stay close, under my watch, until I'm certain you won't run to the authorities." He gestured toward her apartment with casual elegance. "You can't stay here. This address is compromised. Anyone tracking that suitcase knows about this location. You'll move into one of my properties. You'll go nowhere without my knowledge. You'll speak to no one about what you've seen. You're kidnapping me." Disbelief sharpened her voice. "I'm protecting my interests." His gaze held hers, dark and unwavering. "And whether you believe it or not, I'm protecting you too. The people who are supposed to receive that money. They don't forgive mistakes. They don't care that you're innocent. If they find you before I secure this situation, they'll do things that make death look merciful." Nia's stomach turned. "How long?" "As long as it takes." Jinwoo pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. "Pack a bag. Essentials only. My men will retrieve the rest of your belongings tomorrow and secure this apartment. I have a job. Call in sick. I can't just disappear. You don't have a choice, Miss Sanders." The warmth, if it could be called that, vanished from his voice, replaced by cold command. "You have two options. Come with me willingly, or my men will carry you out. Either way, you're leaving this apartment in the next 5 minutes." She stared at him, this beautiful, terrifying stranger who'd just upended her entire existence. Everything in her upbringing screamed that this was wrong. She should fight, should scream, should find a way to escape and run straight to the police. But the rational part of her brain, the part currently drowning in adrenaline, whispered that he was right. She'd seen too much. She knew too much. And if he wanted her dead, she'd already be dead. Going with him was survival, even if it went against everything she believed in. "Fine." The word tasted like ash. "But I'm not a criminal. I won't become one." Something flickered across Jinwoo's face. Respect, maybe, or curiosity. "We'll see." He gestured toward her closet, then positioned himself by the window, giving her space but making his presence unmistakable. As Nia grabbed a duffel bag with shaking hands and started throwing clothes inside, her mind raced. The money. She hadn't told him she hadn't touched it. Hadn't spent a single dollar. That was good, right? Proof of her character. Maybe if she kept it safe, returned it exactly as she found it, he'd see she wasn't a threat. Maybe he'd let her go. She caught his reflection in her mirror as she packed. He stood perfectly still, phone in hand, utterly calm, like kidnapping terrified women was just another Tuesday night. Who was she kidding? Men like Kang Jinwoo didn't let witnesses go. They eliminated problems. But he said he didn't kill innocent people. She had to believe that, had to cling to it, because right now it was the only thing standing between her and a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. "Time's up," Jinwoo's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. "Let's go." Nia zipped the bag, grabbed her purse, and took one last look at her apartment. Her fresh start, her new beginning, now tainted by a mistake that might cost her everything. When she stepped into the hallway, flanked by Jinwoo and his silent guards, she felt the weight of her old life slipping away, and the terrifying unknown of her new one closing in. The car was exactly what Nia expected. Sleek, black, expensive. Tinted windows that hid everything inside from the outside world. One of Jinwoo's men held the door open, and she slid into the leather back seat, her duffel bag clutched to her chest like a shield. Jinwoo settled beside her with fluid grace, too close in the confined space. She pressed herself against the opposite door, trying to maintain distance, but his presence filled every inch of air. The driver pulled into LA traffic without a word. "Where are we going?" Nia's voice sounded small. "Somewhere safe." Jinwoo glanced at his phone, scrolling through messages with practiced efficiency. "My penthouse downtown. 32nd floor. Security, privacy, and a view that might help you feel less like a prisoner." "But I am a prisoner." He looked up, dark eyes meeting hers. "You're under protection. There's a difference." "Is there?" She couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. "You said I can't leave, can't talk to anyone, can't go back to my life. That sounds like prison to me. Prison doesn't have a gourmet kitchen, a private gym, and a bathroom bigger than your entire apartment." His tone was matter-of-fact, not boastful. "I'm not a monster, Miss Sanders. You'll be comfortable. Comfort doesn't make it freedom." "No," he agreed quietly. "It doesn't." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the hum of the engine and the distant sounds of the city. Nia watched the lights blur past, her mind still reeling. 24 hours ago, she was unpacking boxes and excited about her new job. Now she was in a mobster's car, heading to his penthouse with no idea when or if she'd ever get her life back. Why Atlanta? Jinwoo's question startled her. What? You moved from Atlanta to LA 2 weeks ago. Why? She hesitated. Answering felt like giving him power, but refusing felt dangerous. I got a job offer. Graphic design for a non-profit that helps homeless youth. It seemed like a good opportunity. A fresh start. Noble work. Was that mockery in his voice? She couldn't tell. It's important work, she corrected, defensive. Helping people who need it. And your family. They supported this move. My family. She stopped, realizing what he was doing. Getting information. Learning her weak points. Why does it matter? Because everything matters when assessing risk. He tucked his phone away, giving her his full attention. The weight of his gaze made her skin prickle. Your father is a pastor. Your mother teaches elementary school. You have 2 younger siblings, both still in college. You grew up in a tight-knit community, attended church every Sunday, never even got a parking ticket. You're about as far from my world as a person can get. The fact that he knew all of this made her feel violated and exposed. You investigated me. Of course I did. The moment my men identified who took the suitcase, I learned everything about you. His expression didn't change. I know you're not a threat, Miss Sanders. You're exactly what you appear to be. An honest woman who made an honest mistake. That's why you're still breathing. How comforting, she muttered. It should be. He leaned back, somehow making even that movement look elegant. Most people in your situation wouldn't get this courtesy. This courtesy? Anger flared, hot and sudden, burning through her fear. You've kidnapped me, threatened me, and torn apart my entire life because I accidentally grabbed the wrong suitcase. Don't act like you're doing me a favor. She expected rage, violence, the cold cruelty she'd read about in those documents. Instead, Jinwoo's lips curved into something that almost resembled a smile. There it is. What? The fire. His eyes held something new, interest, genuine and unsettling. You've been terrified since I walked through your door. Understandable. But underneath that fear, you're angry. That's good. Angry people fight. Scared people break. I'm both, she admitted, hating how her voice shook. I know. The almost smile faded. But you'll survive this, Miss Sanders. I'll make sure of it. Before she could respond, the car pulled into an underground garage beneath a gleaming high-rise. The driver parked in a private section cordoned off with security barriers, and Jinwoo's men materialized from nowhere to sweep the area. Jinwoo exited first, then offered his hand to help her out. Nia ignored it, climbing out on her own. His hand dropped, but she caught a flicker of amusement in his expression. The elevator ride was silent and swift. 32 floors passed in seconds, and when the doors opened, they revealed a private foyer with a single door. Jinwoo pressed his thumb to a biometric scanner. The lock disengaged with a soft beep. Welcome to your temporary home. The penthouse stole her breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the LA skyline, glittering like fallen stars. Modern furniture in blacks and grays, minimalist and expensive. An open kitchen with marble countertops. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her entire life savings. It was beautiful, intimidating, and nothing like her. Guest room is down that hall, second door on the left. Jinwoo moved to the kitchen, rolling up his sleeves with casual confidence. Bathroom attached. Everything you need should be there. But if something's missing, tell me. Nia stood frozen in the foyer, clutching her bag. Where will you be? Here. He pulled a bottle of whiskey from a cabinet, poured 2 fingers into a glass. This is my home. Of course it was. She'd be living with him, sleeping under the same roof as a criminal. Her father would be horrified. Her mother would cry, and she was too exhausted to process it. I need to call my family, she said quietly. They'll worry if they don't hear from me. Jinwoo considered this, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. You can call, but you tell them everything's fine. You're busy with work. You'll reach out soon. Nothing about me, nothing about your situation. Understood? She nodded, though resentment burned in her chest. And Miss Sanders? He met her eyes over the rim of his glass. Don't try to signal for help. Don't use code words. Don't do anything clever. I'll be listening. And if I think for 1 second you're compromising my security, this arrangement ends immediately. The threat hung in the air between them. I understand, she whispered. Good. He gestured toward the hallway. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we'll discuss the rules in detail. Nia didn't need to be told twice. She hurried down the hall, found the guest room, a space larger and nicer than any bedroom she'd ever had, and closed the door behind her. Only then did she let herself sink onto the bed, her bag falling to the floor, her body shaking with delayed shock. She was trapped, truly, completely trapped in a world she didn't understand, with a man who held her life in his hands. And the worst part? The absolutely terrifying part? When Kang Jin-woo looked at her with those dark, intense eyes, something in her responded, something she didn't want to name. Attraction. To a criminal. To everything she should despise. God help her. Nia barely slept. Every sound in the unfamiliar penthouse made her jump. The hum of the ventilation, the distant city noise, footsteps in the hallway that might or might not be Jin-woo. When morning light finally spilled through the massive windows, she found herself staring at the ceiling, exhausted and wired simultaneously. A soft knock at her door made her sit up. "Yes?" "Breakfast is ready." Jin-woo's voice, muffled through the wood. "Come eat." She found him in the kitchen, cooking. Actually cooking. Not ordering staff or having food delivered. He stood at the stove in black joggers and a tight-fitting white t-shirt. His tattoo fully visible now, the tiger seeming to move as his muscles shifted while he flipped something in a pan. "You cook." The question escaped before she could stop it. "I live alone. I eat." He glanced over his shoulder, and Nia realized she was staring. "Sit. You need to eat." The island counter had two place settings. Nia slid onto a stool, uncomfortable and hyper-aware of everything. The way he moved, the domesticity of the scene, how surreal this all felt. He plated eggs, rice, kimchi, and grilled fish, setting one in front of her. Traditional Korean breakfast. The smell made her stomach growl despite her anxiety. I've never had Korean food," she admitted. "Try it." He settled across from her with his own plate, picking up chopsticks with ease. "You're in Koreatown now. Might as well get used to it." Nia used the provided fork, tentatively tasting the kimchi. Spicy, tangy, complex. Different, but not bad. The eggs and fish were perfectly cooked. They ate in silence for several minutes before Jin-woo spoke again. "The rules are simple. You don't leave this penthouse without me or one of my men. You don't contact anyone without my permission. You don't ask questions about my business. You stay out of my office." He ticked each point off with calm precision. "In return, you'll be safe, comfortable, and alive. Fair?" Nothing about this is fair, but she nodded anyway because what choice did she have? "Your job, I've handled it. You're on an indefinite leave due to a family emergency." They were understanding. He sipped his coffee. "Your apartment rent is paid through the end of your lease. Your belongings will be moved to storage. To the outside world, you're simply dealing with a personal crisis back home." The efficiency with which he'd dismantled her life was terrifying. "And when this is over, when you decide I'm not a threat anymore, you go back to your life, or what's left of it." His gaze was steady, unreadable. "I'm not interested in destroying you, Miss Sanders. I just need time to ensure you're not going to destroy me. I already told you." "Words are easy." He set down his cup with a soft click. "Trust is earned. Right now, I don't trust you not to run to the police the second I let my guard down. And you don't trust me not to kill you once you're no longer useful. We're at an impasse." He wasn't wrong. Nia set down her fork, appetite gone despite the good food. "So, what happens now?" "Now you wait. You stay here. You behave." Jin-woo stood, clearing their plates with surprising domesticity. "I have business to attend to today. Yon will be stationed outside the penthouse. Don't try to leave, don't try anything stupid. There are cameras everywhere." The reminder that she was under surveillance made her skin crawl. "Can I at least have my phone?" She'd noticed it missing from her purse this morning. "No." He rinsed the dishes, his back to her. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. Depends on how well you adapt to this situation." Adapt? As if she could just adjust to being a prisoner. As if this was normal. Jin-woo turned, leaning against the counter with crossed arms. In the morning light, he looked younger, less intimidating, almost human. "I know this is hard for you. I know you're scared and angry and you want to go home. But you need to understand something. The moment you opened that suitcase, you became a liability. Not just to me, but to a lot of very dangerous people. If I let you go right now, you'd be dead within 48 hours. The people who wanted that money," she said quietly. "The Cheong faction. Korean gang that's been trying to eliminate me for 3 years." His expression darkened. "They've been watching my movements, tracking my shipments. They know something went wrong at the airport. And they have resources, people everywhere, eyes on everything. If they find out about you, they'll use you to get to me." Nia's blood ran cold. "So I'm bait. You're a weakness I can't afford. He pushed off the counter, moving closer. But I won't let them touch you. As long as you're with me, you're untouchable. That's the deal. She looked up at him, this man who was simultaneously her captor and her protector. The contradiction made her head spin. Why do you care? If I'm such a liability, why not just get rid of the problem? Jinwoo was silent for a long moment, his dark eyes searching her face. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. Because you don't deserve to die for an accident. Because you're innocent. And because... He paused, jaw tightening. Because I'm trying to be better than my father was. The vulnerability in that admission shocked her. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his entire demeanor shifted, back to the cold, controlled mobster. I have to go. Behave yourself, Miss Sanders. He grabbed a jacket from the back of a chair, checking a gun holstered at his hip with practiced ease. The casual violence of it made Nia's stomach turn. Jinwoo. His name felt strange on her tongue. He paused at the door, looking back. The money, she said carefully. It's still in the suitcase. I didn't touch it. Didn't spend any. I was going to return all of it. I wanted you to know that. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or reassessment. I know, I checked. Then you know I'm not a thief. I know you're not stupid enough to steal from me. But his tone had softened slightly. Doesn't mean I trust you yet. The door closed behind him with a quiet finality, and Nia was alone. She wandered the penthouse like a ghost, examining her cage. The windows didn't open. Safety feature or prison design, she couldn't tell. The doors all required biometric scans or codes she didn't have. Even the elevator was locked without proper clearance. In Jinwoo's office, which she entered despite his warning, because what was he going to do, kidnap her twice? She found the suitcase. Her suitcase. The real one. Her clothes, her toiletries, her sketchbook. Everything exactly as she'd packed it. Which meant he'd already retrieved the luggage mix-up from the airport, had already fixed the problem before even coming to her apartment. He could have just taken his money and disappeared. Let her wonder, let her worry, let her eventually report it and deal with the authorities. Instead, he'd come for her, warned her, protected her from threats she didn't even know existed. Nia sank into the leather chair behind his desk, her mind reeling. Nothing about this made sense, nothing about him made sense. Criminals were supposed to be simple, bad guys, monsters. But Kang Jinwoo cooked breakfast, spoke of honor, and claimed to protect innocence. And God help her, she was starting to believe him. Her eyes fell on a photograph on his desk, the only personal item in the Stark office. A family photo. A younger Jinwoo, maybe 12 years old, standing between an elegant Korean woman and a stern-faced man in an expensive suit. His parents, both dead now, according to the documents she'd read. His father murdered by rivals. His mother died of cancer shortly after. He'd been 25 when he inherited an empire built on blood and violence, still just a kid himself in some ways. Nia heard the elevator ding in the distance, Jinwoo returning, or one of his men checking in. She carefully replaced the photo and slipped out of the office, her heart pounding with guilt and something else. Curiosity. Dangerous, foolish curiosity about a man she should only fear. 3 days passed in surreal monotony. Jinwoo came and went at odd hours. Sometimes he'd be gone all day, returning late with blood on his shirt, blood he'd immediately disappear to wash away, never mentioning it, never explaining. Other times he'd work from home, locked in his office for hours, his voice a low murmur through the door as he conducted business in rapid Korean. Nia existed in limbo. She watched TV, sketched in her notebook, tried not to think about her life falling apart outside these walls, but she was going stir-crazy. On the 4th morning, she found Jinwoo at the kitchen counter reading something on his tablet, a cup of coffee steaming beside him. He wore his signature white shirt, 4 buttons undone, the tiger tattoo stark against his skin. She'd stopped being quite so afraid of him. Maybe that was dangerous. I need to go outside, she announced. He glanced up, one eyebrow raised. No, I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you, I need fresh air, sunlight, something other than these 4 walls, or I'm going to lose my mind. You'll survive. Will I? She moved closer, frustration overriding caution. You say you're not a monster, that you're protecting me, but keeping me locked up like an animal isn't protection, it's cruelty. Jinwoo set down the tablet with deliberate care. You think I'm being cruel. I think you're being controlling. There's a difference between keeping me safe and keeping me prisoner. He stood, and suddenly the space between them felt charged. Dangerous. You want to go outside? Fine. But you go where I say, when I say, with who I say. And if you try anything, I won't. She met his gaze, refusing to back down. I'm not stupid. I know what's at stake. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Jinwoo pulled out his phone. Get dressed. Something nice. We're going out. 30 minutes later, Nia found herself in the back of his car again, but this time the atmosphere was different. Less kidnapping, more something else. Jinwoo sat beside her in a tailored suit, looking every inch the wealthy businessman rather than the mobster she knew him to be. Where are we going? She asked, as the car wove through downtown traffic. You wanted outside. I'm giving you outside. He glanced at her, and she realized she'd chosen a sundress. Yellow, modest, the only nice thing she'd packed. His gaze lingered a moment too long before he looked away. There's a Korean cultural center in Koreatown. Art exhibit opening today. Public, safe, civilized. An art exhibit. She hadn't expected that. The center was beautiful. Modern architecture blended with traditional Korean design elements. Inside, the walls displayed stunning contemporary art by Korean-American artists, each piece exploring identity, heritage, and belonging. Jinwoo's hand settled on the small of her back as they entered, a possessive gesture that sent confusing signals through her nervous system. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple. Wealthy, polished, normal. Stay close, he murmured near her ear, and don't wander. But he let her look at the art. Really look at it. And as they moved through the exhibit, something unexpected happened. He started talking about the pieces, explaining techniques, discussing themes, revealing a depth of knowledge that surprised her. You know art, she said, stopping before a particularly striking painting of a tiger, vibrant, fierce, caught mid-roar. My mother was a painter. His voice softened. She taught me to see beyond the surface, to understand what the artist was trying to say. Nia looked at him, this complicated man beside her. The tattoo. Is it for her? His jaw tightened, but he nodded. She called me her little tiger, said I had fire in my soul. His hand touched his neck briefly, unconsciously. When she died, I got this. To remember, to honor her. The vulnerability in his admission made her chest ache. She'd be proud of you. Would she? Bitterness crept into his tone. I run an empire built on violence. I've done things that would make her ashamed. I'm nothing like the son she wanted me to be. But you're trying. The words came out before Nia could stop them. You said it yourself. You're trying to be better than your father. That counts for something. Jinwoo's gaze found hers, dark and intense. Does it? To you? She didn't know how to answer that. Shouldn't answer that. This man was her captor. The reason her life was in shambles. She should hate him. But standing here, surrounded by art and culture, and his unexpected softness, hate felt very far away. I think, she said carefully, that people are more complicated than good or evil. I think we're all just trying to survive with the choices we've been given. And what about the choices we make? His voice dropped lower. Don't those define us? Maybe. But so does what we do after, how we try to fix our mistakes. She turned back to the painting, unable to hold his gaze any longer. You could have killed me that first night. You didn't. That choice matters. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken things. Then Jinwoo's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his entire body went rigid. We need to leave. Now. The urgency in his voice spiked her pulse. What's wrong? Not here. His hand gripped her elbow, guiding her toward the exit with swift purpose. His other hand moved to his jacket, to the gun she knew he carried. They were 10 feet from the door when it burst open. Men flooded in, 4, 5, 6, wearing leather and rage. Korean, heavily tattooed, armed with visible weapons. Museum visitors screamed, scattering, and their eyes locked on Jinwoo. Kang Jinwoo, the leader sneered, speaking in Korean, but switching to English. We've been looking for you. Jinwoo moved instantly, shoving Nia behind him, his body a shield between her and the threat. Cheong Min-jun, this is a public place. Innocent people are here. We don't care about innocent people. Min-jun's gaze slid to Nia, cruel and assessing. Who's the girl, Kang? New toy? She's pretty. Would be a shame if something happened to her. Terror seized Nia's throat. Touch her, and I'll kill every single one of you. Jinwoo's voice was death itself, cold, final, absolutely sincere. Min-jun laughed. Big words. You're outnumbered, and we've been waiting a long time for this. Everything happened at once. Jinwoo drew his gun. The Cheong men raised theirs. Someone screamed, and Nia felt herself being yanked backward, through a side door, as gunfire erupted behind her. She stumbled into the arms of Yeon, Jinwoo's guard, who must have been shadowing them the whole time. Move! he barked, dragging her through a back hallway. More gunshots, shouting, the sound of bodies hitting the floor. Jinwoo, Nia tried to turn back. He can handle himself, my job is you. Yon hauled her outside into blinding sunlight, practically throwing her into a waiting car. The driver peeled out before she'd even closed the door. Nia twisted in her seat, staring back at the cultural center. Smoke, chaos, police sirens wailing in the distance, and Jinwoo still inside, fighting for his life, because of her, because he'd taken her outside, because he'd tried to give her something normal, and it had turned into a nightmare. He'll be okay, Yon said from the front seat, though tension laced his voice. Boss always survives. But Nia couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could see was Jinwoo shoving her behind him, making himself a target, protecting her without hesitation. The man who'd kidnapped her, who'd destroyed her normal life, who was also, somehow, the only thing standing between her and death. And God help her. All she wanted was for him to survive. They took her to a different safe house, a luxury condo in Santa Monica, oceanfront, heavily guarded. Yon and 3 other men stood watch while Nia paced the living room like a caged animal, her mind racing with horrible possibilities. Jinwoo was dead, arrested, wounded. She didn't know, and the not knowing was torture. Hours passed. The sun set over the Pacific, painting the sky in violent oranges and reds. Still no word. Then finally the door opened. Jinwoo walked in, and relief hit Nia so hard she nearly collapsed. He was alive, blood spattered, his white shirt torn and filthy, a cut above his eyebrow. But alive. You're okay, she breathed. He stopped, looking at her with an unreadable expression. You sound surprised. I thought, her voice cracked. I thought they killed you. They tried. He moved to the bar, poured whiskey with a hand that trembled slightly, the only sign of what he'd been through. 5 of them are dead. Minjun escaped. He knows about you now, Nia. Knows you're important to me. The use of her first name registered distantly. He'd never called her that before. Always Miss Sanders, formal and distant. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? He downed the whiskey in one swallow. For asking to go out. For making you vulnerable. If I'd just stayed here, they would have found another opportunity. Jinwoo set down the glass with a sharp click. This isn't your fault. It's mine. I knew the risks and I took you anyway because you asked. Because I wanted... He cut himself off, jaw clenching. Wanted what? He looked at her then, really looked at her, and the intensity in his gaze stole her breath. To give you something. A few hours of normal. To see you smile at art instead of flinch away from me. I wanted to be something other than your captor for a few goddamn hours. The rawness in his voice cracked something inside her. Jinwoo, you should hate me. He moved closer and she could smell gunpowder and blood and his cologne underneath it all. I've destroyed your life, taken everything from you. Why don't you hate me? I do. But the words came out wrong, unconvincing. I should. I want to. But you don't. He was close now, too close, towering over her with barely contained emotion. Say it. Tell me you hate me. I can't, she admitted, the truth tearing out of her. I don't know what I feel anymore. You've confused everything. You're a criminal, a killer. Everything I was raised to despise. But you also cook me breakfast and talk about art and protect me with your own body, and I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to hate you when you keep showing me pieces of yourself that are good. There's nothing good in me. But he lifted his hand, fingers barely touching her cheek, the gesture achingly gentle. You're wrong about me, Nia. If you knew the things I've done, I've read the files, remember? She didn't pull away from his touch, couldn't. I know exactly what you are, and I'm still standing here. Something broke in his expression. Control, maybe, or the walls he'd built around whatever he felt. You took something that belongs to me, he said, his voice rough, repeating the words she'd heard that first night. But the meaning had changed. This wasn't about the money anymore. They both knew it. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I know. His thumb brushed her cheekbone, and heat flooded through her. But I'm keeping it anyway. Keeping you. I won't let anyone hurt you, Nia. Not the Cheong faction, not anyone. You're mine to protect now. That's not... You can't just claim me... I already have. His forehead touched hers, and Nia's eyes fluttered closed. The moment I chose not to kill you. The moment I brought you into my home. The moment I put myself between you and bullets. You're mine, and I'm... His breath hitched. I'm yours, God help us both. She should protest, should push him away. Everything she believed, Everything she was raised to value screamed that this was wrong, but his lips found hers, and nothing had ever felt more right. The kiss was desperate, fierce, full of all the fear and confusion and impossible feelings that had been building between them. Nia's hands fisted in his ruined shirt, pulling him closer, needing the proof that he was real and alive and here. He groaned against her mouth, one hand tangling in her braids, the other gripping her waist. "This is a mistake," he breathed between kisses. "I know. I'm poison for you. I know. You should run as far from me as possible. I know." She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "But I'm not running." The words hung between them, a choice and a surrender all at once. Jinwoo's jaw worked, emotion warring across his features. Then he kissed her again, softer this time, like a promise. "Then I'll protect you, from my enemies, from my world, from myself if I have to. I swear it." On what? She needed to know, needed something to believe in. His hand covered hers, pressing it against his chest where she could feel his heart pounding. "On my mother's memory, on the only good thing left in me, on this," he gestured between them. "Whatever this is, it's real. And I don't break promises, Nia, not to you." She believed him. God help her, she believed every word. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now. We end this." Steel entered his voice, the cold mobster resurfacing. "The Cheong faction wants war? I'll give them war. But first I get you somewhere they can never reach you. Somewhere safe." "Where?" A grim smile touched his lips. "Somewhere even Minjun won't look. With people I trust." He stepped back, creating distance, and she immediately missed his warmth. "Pack your things, we leave in an hour." "Where are you going?" "To prepare for what comes next." He headed for the door, then paused, looking back at her. "Nia, thank you." "For what?" "For not hating me, even though you should." His expression softened. "For making me want to be the man my mother hoped I'd become." Then he was gone, leaving Nia standing in the middle of the living room, her lips still tingling from his kiss, her world more upside down than ever. She'd fallen for her captor, for a criminal, for a man who dealt in violence and blood, but he'd also fallen for her, and somehow, impossibly, that made all the difference, even if it destroyed them both in the end. 3 months later, Nia stood in the kitchen of Jinwoo's penthouse, their penthouse now, preparing dinner, traditional Korean food that he'd taught her to make, mixed with soul food recipes from her grandmother, a fusion that somehow worked. Like everything else in her impossible new life, the Cheong faction was gone, dismantled in a series of calculated strikes that Jinwoo executed with cold precision. Minjun was dead, his organization scattered, and Jinwoo had emerged even more powerful, more feared, but also changed. He'd started legitimizing parts of his business, investing in community programs in Koreatown, using his power for something other than pure profit and territory. "Because of you," he'd said when she asked. "Because you make me want to be better." Nia heard the elevator, then his footsteps, arms wrapped around her waist from behind, and she leaned back into Jinwoo's embrace. "Smells good," he murmured against her neck. "You're early. Wanted to come home." He turned her in his arms, and the love in his eyes still took her breath away. "Wanted to see you." She'd called her family last month, told them an edited version of the truth. She'd met someone, fallen in love. Her life had changed. Her father was skeptical, her mother worried, but they heard the happiness in her voice and chose to trust her. "I got something for you." Jinwoo pulled a small box from his pocket. Nia's heart stuttered. "Jinwoo, open it." Inside was a key. Not a ring, not yet, he knew she wasn't ready, but a key to the penthouse. Official, permanent. "Move in with me," he said quietly. "Not as my captive, as my partner, my equal. Stay because you want to, not because you have to." Tears pricked her eyes. "You're giving me a choice. I should have given you one from the beginning." His thumb caught a falling tear. "I can't undo what I did, how we started, but I can give you this, the freedom to choose me, or to walk away. No consequences, no threats, just your choice." Nia looked at the key, then at him, the man who'd kidnapped her, protected her, loved her, changed her, the man she'd somehow impossibly fallen in love with despite every reason not to. "I choose you," she whispered. "I choose us." The smile that broke across his face was beautiful and pure, and everything she never thought she'd see from Kang Jinwoo. He kissed her then, soft and reverent, like she was something precious, something worth protecting, something worth becoming better for. And Nia Sanders, good girl from Atlanta who'd accidentally grabbed the wrong suitcase and the right man, kissed him back. because sometimes the most dangerous choices lead to the safest places. And sometimes love finds you in the last place you'd ever think to look.